Well, welcome everybody to another edition of Life in the Boro. I'm your host, Ben Edwards, and today we got a very special guest with us. He is the three-time winner, three years in a row, right? Winner of the Best of Texoma Award for
home painting services.
Home painting services. The owner of Elite Painting and Epoxy Coatings. Please welcome to the show, Robert Lance. Thanks for joining us, man.
Man.
It's good to see you. We'll get a little bit closer here. We'll get a little closer to the mic. There we go. All right. Thanks for being here. This is exciting.
Yeah.
How you been? How was your holidays?
Good, but everything with the company is always stressful.
Yeah. So I would assume that this time of year is not good. This is like the down. When is the good season? When is the bad season for home painting?
Pretty much, at least for us, partly and due because of the advertising we do. We generally stay busy, like early spring through late fall, and we'll even be finishing out our schedule into the winter. But this year's been a weird year for sales and production and everything. It's been stressful lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hear about the beginnings of the company. You moved here in 2021, 2020, somewhere around there?
To Whitesboro itself, yeah.
So COVID time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why, first of all, why Whitesboro?
So me and my wife, we both grew up in Collinsville. We went to school together. We lived in Sherman for 9 years, and then, the house came open here in Whitesboro, and we weren't quite sure if we wanted to go back to Collinsville, but we jumped on the opportunity in the house we're in. It's a great house. We love it there.
What did you think about Sherman, living in Sherman?
I enjoy it. Like, honestly, if I had my way, and my wife would never go for it, so it will never happen. Like, I envision myself, like, living in an upstairs downtown loft or something like
really?
that. Like,
we have a couple here in town.
I like the city loft. I like the city life. My wife doesn't, but I also like the quieter, mellow, smaller towns where you can actually know everybody.
Sure. Not
everybody, but just get to know your neighbors, man.
Yeah. Do you know your neighbors?
Most of them.
Yeah. I grew up in the DFW area, and it's a totally different world.
It is.
The biggest thing is the anonymity there. Nobody knows you. You don't know your neighbors, and even if you do know them, you don't know somebody 4 or 5 houses down.
Exactly.
And you go to the grocery store, you don't see the same people. It's just you can live a complete life of anonymity, and I guess there's some good things about it, but after a while, it's just like, no, I would rather be invested in the people around me and have them invested in me.
Exactly. And it's weird because my personality type is, like, I'm a natural introvert. Like, I'd rather just be in my own little bubble. But if I need to go sell jobs, I'm the biggest extrovert. And I know in order to, because if people don't know you exist, then they can't buy from you.
Right.
And so networking with other painters and painting companies and the larger U.S., it's all about social media. And so over the years, I've just tweaked stuff on that and just kind of mimic what they do that's successful in their area. And one of the things is, like, being involved in the community and being in a smaller town. That's what I really like, because you can do stuff even if it's not something spectacularly huge.
Right.
Just being involved.
We got to do a couple of events together this year. We did. I was talking to my wife about this, and I remembered us working on the Peanut Festival committee together. But also, she reminded me of us doing the chili dog eating contest, and how that was a little.
It was the first chili fest, nobody knew how that was going to go. And I believe that was what, I think the weather was up in the air. Like, we didn't even know.
Yeah. And it poured.
What was gonna happen.
That was the night of the Valley View tornado.
I believe it was.
So we got hit that night. But I got to tell you, I expected it to be the chili dog eating contest. I expected it to be like, 4 or 5 people, but it ended up being, we were just scrambling to get that stuff done and get it on plates, and it was a lot of fun. But we get to MC that a little bit.
And then we get the in a small town like this, man, you got to get the fire department and the police officers out there.
I think Rustin
challenge each other.
Reedy did a great job with that. Yeah, a couple of guys from the fire department.
Yeah, always got to pull those people into stuff like that.
That's always fun. Yeah, you're right when you talk about having an opportunity to really connect with the community and to get involved with things. Talking about the anonymity of a big town, it's really easy to make with a little bit of effort, you can make a big difference in a small town, because it's like they say a big fish in a small town. You're not really a big fish, but it's a small pond, and it gives you the opportunity to kind of, one small pebble makes a big splash.
Exactly.
And if the people who want to be involved and want to be part of the community, want to be engaged, they find opportunities to do things, and you end up with your name on every volunteer list you can imagine.
Right.
And you've certainly done that a ton.
Yeah.
Now I know that when was the business established before you came to town, or did you start it once you got to Whitesboro?
Well, basically, I got my start in painting in 2017, and I was working for Marty Little, and he's out of Sherman. He does zero advertising. He does custom new homes, painting those with builders, like Troy Miller, Mark Garland, stuff like that caliber of homes. And, I just always I always had it in my mind. I want to do something. I didn't know what I was going to do yet, but I wanted to do it on my own. And so whenever I started working with him, and I just started learning everything I can. I didn't want to know how to do something. I wanted to know why it's done like that. Why do we, just so that if I know the why behind it, then I can figure out pretty much on my own basically anything that comes along with it. And that's what I did. So I started taking on side jobs after a couple years, and then what really propelled me was the shiplap craze.
Okay, yeah.
And it was completely by accident. He wrapped a kitchen island in shiplap, and he had me come paint it. Well, I just posted pictures of the painting because I took a lot of pride in it. There wasn't a whole minimal brush marks and all that, and people started asking, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? I'm like, oh, I really didn't build that.
Right.
And
they're pushing your limits, right?
Yeah, so I asked Marty, I'm like, hey, man, I got people asking me to come do this, and I don't know, do you want to build them and I'll paint them or something? And he was like, no, not really. And so the first person, and she's down in Salina, I told her, I'm like, look, I've never done this before, but I'm not stupid. I can read a tape measure, and I can work a saw, and I guarantee you I'll figure it out, and you'll be happy when I'm done with it. So she was like, all right.
We'll take a chance, yeah. Old-fashioned ingenuity, right?
Yeah, and then so I just jumped in like that and started doing it, and then posting it, and more people wanted stuff done. Next thing you know, I'm building like board and batten huge walls and staircases. I'm just like, what?
Now, I saw one that you did that was pretty intricate. It was like multiple. There was like a sign in the middle. It was a huge wall, behind a desk.
Oh, Edward Jones, yeah.
Is that what it was?
Edward Jones' office.
And there's these. They all run in different directions. It's like you had to piece it together and then paint it.
Yeah.
And it's seeing it prior to painting, you can see every little.
Yeah.
Every bit of the work, and then once it's painted, it's like it's always been there. It's beautiful.
And all I had to go on that one was a picture.
Really, they just said something like,
"Hey,
this.
I want this," and I'm like, "Okay, I can do it." Well, I started doing that one, and I got like an entire quarter of it done, and I realized I started off on the wrong side, so I had to take all that back down and redo it.
How long did that project take?
That one, it took me like 2 or 3 days to get all the cuts and angles right and get it painted. And I worked on that while they were painting the rest of our office.
Really?
And so we got that. We got that taken. We got that wrapped up in about 3 days. And I did work on some late nights.
There we go. Let's see if we can find this.
Yeah, it wasn't
in here
super
somewhere.
far back there.
You post a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Where is that?
It's down further.
Getting there. So this is Edward Jones. So when they came to you with this, was this from
right there?
There we go.
Yeah.
And was it from another another Edward Jones location that had done it? And they were trying to match it?
Yeah.
Look at this. This is incredible. Look at that finished product.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Now it's on the left side. I had that whole triangle. And
this one here?
I forgot what I did wrong with it, but I did. I had it angled the wrong direction, so I had to take all those down.
So it's not just painting. You built this.
Yeah.
I could never do this. I'm terrible at geometry, and so this would never be a possibility for me. This is so. How close are you to the photograph that they wanted?
I'm pretty close.
Yeah, they were happy.
Yeah,
I bet. Where is the location?
That office is in Denison, off of Loy Lake Road.
Wow.
Pretty much right behind Huck's Catfish, if you know where that's at.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me some of the projects that, for those of us in Whitesboro, are you not working on Southern Charm? Is that you?
Yeah.
So, okay, so from an outsider's perspective, here's what this looks like.
Yeah.
We drive by, and it's downtown, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
where everybody can see it.
Right. It's the pink building.
I know where
Everybody's
this
used
is
to the
going
pink building,
already.
right? And we drive by, and it's painted like a dark color, like black, or was it dark gray, something like that. And we see it, and we're like, oh, they're painting. This is interesting, And we drive back by, and it wasn't. I think it was the next day. I guess next morning we drive by, and I was like, what kind of weird texture are they putting on this building? What happened with this? Because it looks like there's just random claw marks all over it.
Yeah.
And I heard that it rained. Right?
No, we had to power wash it back off.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So yeah, and it being downtown, I'm like, wow. Everybody's sitting down here looking at this, and here we are having a power wash the paint back off. But yeah, so on exteriors, whenever it has to do with like stucco brick, our go-to product is Loxon Masonry Self-Cleaning Acrylic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a masonry product. So that was our go-to. Well, we did it. I did the adhesion test first. I wanted to know if that was oil or whatnot. So I wiped it with denatured alcohol, and it turned out that it's not oil. So good. Loxon should be good. Well, I had them paint it, and we came back the next day, and I just walk up, and I could basically rub the black off. I'm like, oh crap. I'm like, what is going on here? And like, I don't know, some other people may have just left it like that and hope nobody ever touched it.
Right.
But that's not me. That's not.
Sure.
I don't have that in me. That's not our brand. That's not the Elite Way. And so I'm like, well, crap. So I got on the phone with the paint rep. I'm like, look, Tori, man, something's really going on. I've never had this issue with Loxon. What's happening? He didn't know. And he was going to swing by later. I'm like, Tori, man, we got freezing weather coming. Like, I really don't have time to wait.
Yeah.
Till you can get down here. Because if we're going to power wash it, we need to power wash it like immediately. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, it's obviously coming off. Like, we can power wash it and then just chill out until the next step. He's like, yeah, just go ahead and power wash it. Well, some big old flakes of the pink paint had came off with it.
Oh, okay.
And so once again, I'm like, well, maybe I was just tripping or something. Let me put the denatured alcohol on, because it acted like it was an oil paint.
Sure.
And so it wasn't allowing the paint, the acrylic to stick to it. So I'm like, maybe I'm tripping. So I did the denatured alcohol on it again. It's a latex product. Because if you rub denatured alcohol on something, if you see the color on the rag, it's a latex product. If nothing comes off, it's an oil-based product. And so I took it to Sherwin-Williams and happened to catch Tori there. I'm like, look, Tori, I got a piece of it in the truck. I will show you. And so basically they replaced the paint.
Right.
And I bought an additional bonding primer for it.
So have you seen what's the finished product going to look like?
It's finished now.
Oh, is it? I just haven't been down there. So describe it.
It's black. It's all black.
All black.
Yeah, it was a difficult color anyways, because you can literally see everything on it.
Yeah.
And almost impossible to keep clean. But like, if it gets wet, you'll see a water spot on it.
Uh-huh.
I have people asking me, every now and then, hey, we want to do our cabinets black. And I'm like, that's a horrible idea. But I think for being an outside for downtown, hopefully it grows on people.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of talk about the pink itself. Yeah. So I think that when we were working on a project, a grant for downtown, and at the time there was a lot of discussion about there being some kind of like across the board standard for what
approved
downtown
colors or whatever down there.
Something along those lines.
Like what happened in Denison with one of their downtown buildings going bright red.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yep. And in that conversation, it was brought up that it was pink. So I don't know if it's one of those. I don't know what the families. It's Harris's, yeah, Ambry and her husband.
Yeah, they're awesome people.
Yeah, Chris, right?
Chris.
And so I don't know what they're planning on doing.
They're still gonna do like
I didn't mind
jewelry stuff in the back, but the front of it is gonna be a smaller event venue for like birthday parties, stuff like that.
So, what about? Was it y'all that did the green building back here? Yeah.
They turned that into an event.
Yeah, we got a bunch of them now. We do. We got a bunch of them.
Up above it is the apartment.
Right. They took that down. I don't know if I don't think they actually took it down, but they did some major reconstruction to the building back there. Yeah. And I think that's Michael Hinesley and his group. But man, it looks so good back there.
Really
it looks
good.
So, and it looks great at night too. They have all the lights up there. So I think that's going to be very successful.
Well put together. Even the concrete work that they had done for the drive, it all looks good back there.
Yeah. Now, like I said at the beginning, your company has won the Best of Texhome Award 3 years in a row, but your wife has won one of those awards. Is that not correct?
Yeah, she did.
So
she was like, "What? How did I do that?"
So Alicia she won for Best Bank Teller. Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's got to be proud. She's got to be proud of that. You got to be proud of her.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How long has she been? She's at Simmons Bank. Is that right?
Simmons, yeah.
How long has she been there?
Oh man, don't even get me lying. 5.5 years, I think.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. And to be able to be voted for it because like when the whole Landmark Simmons switch happened, I guess a lot of customers were getting upset. And so I always jokingly refer to it as the most hated bank in Whitesboro. But I give her such a hard time. But, there's still some good people.
Well, if she's got, that's got to be an award that relies heavily upon customer service.
Yep, exactly.
And customer satisfaction. So that's a great award to get. So y'all are an award-filled family. Yeah. And here's a question for you. I was thinking about this the other day. My grandfather was a painter, but he was like a sign painter back in the old days, when everything was actually hand-drawn in Oklahoma. And so we grew up kind of with that as the tradition in our house. But I can't paint to save my life.
Yeah.
So I have some painting questions for you here at the end.
I don't know if I could paint any signs because I'm not an artist. Get me to draw something, it would be horrible. If I had a stencil to go by, maybe.
Sure. Do you listen to music when you paint?
If I listen to something, I usually, I try not to do any of the painting now. I try to have people.
Right.
Because I can't focus on going out selling jobs if I'm on the paintbrush. But I still do enjoy painting, and I will usually have earbuds.
Sure.
Or one, because I want to be able to still hear. But if I have one in, it's a podcast or Dave Ramsey or something of that nature.
Improving
a book
yourself,
or
right?
something. Yeah.
Always working on improving yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always good. I don't know if I could do it all day. I don't know if I could paint all day.
Yeah.
So what are some of the other projects we might recognize from you here in town?
Here in town, 56 Deli.
That's right.
That one came out really well.
Yes. Yeah. The Wades, I think, were very happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
The whole town's happy with it. It looks great.
Yeah. Especially whenever they had a picture. Somebody had a picture of what it used to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Like I believe it was a black and white picture. And then what it looks like now. Like, I kind of like history stuff, so
Sure.
that's pretty cool. I don't know, man. We've got a lot, but none really stick out to me.
Those are pretty good ones. A lot of stuff that's very visual areas.
Yeah.
What's a painting technique that we're all doing wrong?
Prep.
Whole lot of prep. Nobody wants to do that. That's the boring part. You just want to get it done, right?
Yeah.
I would want to do that. I always see that. I've had painting done, interior painting done at my house a couple times, and man, they spend the whole day just taping stuff off and putting all the
Yeah, you don't want
plastic
paint going where
stuff.
it's not supposed to go.
That's true, but it's a pain. It is a pain.
Yeah.
So as far as the actual painting, you're the expert.
Another thing would be thinking that paint and primer in one is actually gonna work.
You're not a big fan of the Behr paint and primer in one?
Yeah, I mean it's just a misnomer because if it's a raw product, whether it's drywall mud or bare wood,
Mm-hmm.
paint and primer in one is not going to work. It still needs an actual primer.
Okay.
And that's, I got this paint and primer in one. I'm like, that's just a marketing gimmick there. It's not going to work.
So is the majority of the stuff that you do exterior or interior or both? Is there
both?
Is there one more than the other?
It's I would say probably like 50-50. I could pull up numbers.
That's all right. So the actual title of this I want to ask you about. The actual title of the company, name of the company is Elite Painting and Epoxy Coatings. And I asked you about this at one point, and you had this pretty interesting story. I didn't get to hear the whole thing, but it was that if
we
I
actually
remember,
do zero epoxy.
right. So, but it had something to do with the fact that that's the name on the LLC or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So what's the story there?
Whenever I was first starting to think about branching out on our own, I was really interested in doing epoxy. I went down and did some training on it, and but whenever I actually started the company, actually formed the LLC, like
right.
I put that in the name because that's the direction
that was your plan.
I thought I wanted to go.
Right.
But for the grinding equipment and all that, it's a pretty hefty, nice chunk of change for an investment, and being able to do those jobs correctly. And man, we just kept getting swamped on painting, and so
sure.
that's what we focused on.
That's the thing with going on a new endeavor, a new adventure, is you don't know how it's going to turn out. And sometimes what you have planned in your head, you have a successful company or a successful whatever it is that you're doing, but it never seems to, when it finally hits that successful level, it's not the thing that you initially had in your head. And so there's a lot of adaptation and change that goes along with it.
Right. And even though, like, on our website, like, I intentionally do not, when I had my people build the website, I told them, do not mention epoxy. Like,
right.
But we still get calls from it just because it's in the name. It's on, people see it on my truck. It'll still pop up on Google every now and then as a service. Like, Google will repopulate that as the service is offered automatically, and I had to go in there and take that out.
What percentage of the calls do you get or about that?
Because I don't not a ton, but enough that any epoxy leads I get, like, I just say, hey man, call Brandon Helms.
Yeah,
call Brandon Helms, man.
Yeah, I guess you have to have a one or two people that you're like, oh, this is the guy for you.
I'm like, Brandon Helms, he's got the crew, he's got the equipment, and he'll be able to make sure that it's done right.
This looks great. Who did this site for you?
Micah McLean, Search Click Grow out of Florida.
This is great. Wow. And if people want to reach you, it's 903-815-2735.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a cool logo too.
Yeah. Yeah, we might be rebranding soon. So definitely the epoxy coatings is going to come off of there.
Sure.
Yeah, we're restructure, rebrand, drop the epoxy coatings. I don't know how much of that logo.
You probably get some kind of new version of it, something
Yeah.
similar that'll work. So one of the things that we know about you is that you love pets. You have just one
Mm-hmm.
powder.
Yeah.
I think most people in town know powder.
Or seen them online.
Or see him, yeah. And tell me that story. How did you get powder? And you're involved with multiple things in both here in town as well as in Denison. What is this? The Denison Animal Welfare Group?
Yep.
Which is
dog.
Dog, DAWG.
It's a shelter over there in Denison. Which they keep growing, man. They became the official quote unquote pound for Denison, I believe. But yeah, I just like to stop in over there. I like to do a featured pet post once a week.
Yeah.
Ask who they got there that I can take pictures with and put them. Which reminds me, I've got to make the post because I'm in Denison every Wednesday for BNI, and so
tell us about BNI as well, because I saw that you're big time involved in that. It's like a pretty significant networking group over there.
But it's way more active than just being involved in the chamber. It's an actual active referral group, and they only allow as long as I'm there, I will be the only painting company allowed in.
I see. One in
so
each industry.
Each industry
Right.
is exclusive. So we've got our roofer, we've got our electrician, we've got our plumber.
That's great.
All of that. But it's very active. It's very focused.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with Dog, DAWG? Just want to be connected to it?
I forgot how I found out who.
Who's the big dog at Dog?
Stephanie Phillips.
Okay.
I believe she does insurance. I want to say. She might throw something at me if I get that wrong. But you can, Stephanie Phillips.
Stephanie Phillips. Let's see. Let's look at this again.
Right.
Right.
But I think she does insurance.
Where is this? Oh, here. Yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Agent at Phillips Insurance Agency.
Yeah, she does insurance, and so I just walked into her office one day, and I had the idea because I would always see, like the Sherman PD doing a featured pet post for the Sherman Animal Shelter, and I'm like, well, I want to do something like that, just because, we might have a boring week on. It's all for Facebook engagement,
right?
And doing something good. We might just have a boring week, something that I just don't want to put on Facebook. We're literally out there working every day, but some stuff, I just don't.
Yes, exactly.
I want to show the good stuff. And so I just, if once a week, if I can do this, it'd be something cool. Hopefully get some animals adopted. And, yeah.
And you've been doing that for quite a long time, right? A year or two?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then whenever I stop in there, I make a small donation. So it just helps all the way around.
So tell us about Powder.
Man, he's my pride and joy, man.
How old is he?
So I'm just a dog person. He's 6.5. But my wife was not a dog person, and I'm like, something's definitely wrong with you. But whenever she was smaller, a little girl, a big dog had jumped up, knocked her down. She just wasn't into dogs. And so for 7 years, I couldn't have a dog. And so one day I just told her, look, woman, I'm getting a dog. I don't know what to tell you.
You did the proverbial putting the foot down.
Yeah.
Right.
You can either get on board with it or I don't know what to tell you, man. And then, so she finally came around, and then, she didn't want to go to the shelters to look. And I'm like, once again, look, woman, like you want to be involved in this process. If you let me go by myself, you're not going to like what I bring back. And so we would, a few different times, I'd take her out to Sherman Animal Shelter and I'd walk her along the dogs. I'm like, of these,
Right.
what would you be okay
This
with?
is the thing where instead of asking them, what do you want, where do you want to eat dinner, you say, you have two choices:
Yeah.
Chinese buffet dinner, or we're going to Italian or something like that, or the best,
or the new one. Guess where I'm taking you?
yeah, and then where,
Seen that one pop
wherever,
up?
yeah, wherever they say, that's where you go.
Yeah.
It's a good way to have them decide.
And
Yeah,
we weren't fully ready to commit to a dog at that time still, because then I was still working with somebody else, quote unquote poor. Like, how are we gonna take care of a dog?
But she seems to have definitely gotten on board with Powder.
Yeah, like Powder, he was 5 months old, and he was the only one not barking.
What kind of dog is he?
We did a DNA test, and he's basically half golden retriever. And then the rest is like mixed.
Let's see if I can pull up a picture. So, was it?
You may have to go back further if you're on.
I'll go to yours.
If you're on mine, okay.
So, how long was the getting used to it phase? How long did that last? How long did it take to get her on board?
Well, he was the coolest, calmest dog there, not barking and stuff. Everybody else was raising Cain. We did not know at this time that he was already in the early stages of parvo. That's why he was lethargic like that. But we took him out to the yard, and he immediately laid at her feet. So, of course, me being me, I had to turn it up. I'm like, oh, love, how can you say no to that?
How about this one? Is this one good?
Yeah.
We'll share this one.
Licking my face.
Look at that. Oh.
Like every night, whenever we go to bed, just about, like, he will come and put his butt in her face on her pillow and just go to town licking my head for like 10 or 15 minutes. But yeah, he was in the early stages of parvo, and we didn't know it. So we took him home immediately. Next day, had to put him in the hospital. I'm like, how are we going to afford that?
Right, yeah. I was just thinking about food.
We're barely going to be able to make the pet deposit, but it all worked out. And yeah, here he is. 6 years later?
That's awesome. Yeah, big part of y'all's lives. Yeah.
But he's soft and cuddly, but that's why we only have one.
Right.
We only have one dog because he looks all soft and cuddly, but boy, I tell you, he's got resource guarding. If there's a ball or a stick involved, like, he will fight.
It's a big dynamic change.
The first year or two, I was taking him to the Sherman Dog Park all the time, and there was one day over. It was actually another dog tried to butt in on him and his friend playing. And he didn't like that. Well, he bit the tip of a pit bull's ear off. And, oh, my God, I tell you, there was blood everywhere. I'm like, oh, my gosh, you were in so much trouble. Get in the truck.
Get in the truck. Wow.
But, yeah, so, I don't know. And him being this long, being the only dog, like, I feel bad. I want him to have somebody to play with, but golly, man, I don't want to come home to a blood bath.
Right. And it really changes the dynamic, I think. Sometimes you see a personality change a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if things are going well, no reason to do that.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. Yeah. It's Powder seems to be a big part of y'all's life. And
yeah.
I'm glad y'all have him. Yeah. That's cool. Now, you're a Stars fan, right? You're a hockey fan in general, or just a Stars fan?
I mean, I've loved the Stars ever since they came from Minnesota back in like the 90s.
Yeah, 93. 93, I think.
Do I have time to watch it and keep up with it? No. Like, I couldn't even tell you who's on the roster right now.
Oh, gotcha.
I just get the little notifications about the score, and if I want to watch a recap.
Well, when they got good in the late 90s, that was one of the most exciting times.
Mike Modano and all that.
Oh, yeah. I remember everybody
Eddie Belfour.
And Brett Hull.
Yeah.
That whole team was great.
Yeah.
But everybody in Texas had, of course, we all grew up football fans, and we liked the Rangers. I grew up in Arlington, so I lived on the same street pretty much as the stadium. The street next to my house turned into Stadium Drive, so if that tells you anything. But growing up here, it's all football here.
Yeah.
And so learning hockey in a Yankee sport, but we learned it like overnight, man.
And I admit it, I liked it back before all the different rule changes. Like when the final score could be 0-0.
Yeah.
That's when it was good, in my
That's
opinion.
5-4
Now
now.
that they force you to,
Uh-huh.
oh, we'll just keep yanking players off the ice until somebody scores. Come on, man.
It does seem a little bit like that.
Yeah.
There's been some definite changes. I think COVID changed sports in general for a lot of aspects of it. A lot of the stuff we grew up with has changed. Football's like totally
Yeah.
different sport than we grew up with.
But growing up back then, like I was real big in the baseball. I was a baseball fan, collecting autographs. I still have all those autographs.
Who do you have?
A lot. But it was weird in the early 90s. My dad found this. I don't know where he found it at, but it was from Sports Americana, and it was a paperback book, and it literally had every baseball player's home address in it.
What?
Granted, they hadn't moved since it had been published.
Sure.
So what I would do is include a self-addressed stamped envelope, mail them a card, and then, some of them would sign it, some of them wouldn't, some of them would want to ask for a donation. Like Willie Mays was the most expensive one. He wanted, I don't know if these numbers are correct, but a lot. Like asking for a flat fee to sign it, a donation to this charity, some other fee. By the time you get done, you're paying like
Oh yeah,
$300, $400, $600 to sign a baseball card. But there for a while, me and my dad both had gotten into it. Like we looked forward to going to check the mail just to see what we were getting.
I
that day.
bet. You never know. Johnny Bench is going to send you something.
Yeah, I got several Hall of Famers.
That's pretty awesome. They there's no way that's happening these days.
Yeah.
Putting their addresses in a book.
Oh, I mean,
I'm sure that there's
you'll
gotta
find
be-
it somewhere. You can.
Yeah, I'm sure you
You
can.
find it online.
There's got
But I just don't have the time.
to watch.
But my favorite from back then was sports moment was being at the old Rangers Stadium when Nolan Ryan threw his 5,000 strikeout. We were there.
Yeah, that was the cool thing about growing up in Arlington was, I grew up. By the time that I got to be old enough to ride my bike to the stadium, it was. I mean, we could hear the roar of the crowd from my front yard.
Wow.
We could sit in the living room with the window open and see the fireworks from the stadium at night. And we got to hear I got to see Nolan versus Roger Clemens one night.
Oh yeah.
In person. And the cool thing is that in those days at the old stadium, the Arlington Stadium, they would have the ushers, not the ushers, the people at the door, the gatekeepers, the box office people would leave after I think it was the 7th or 8th inning. So I think it was at the end of the 7th. They would just go home.
Oh, so y'all
And so
could
the
just
gates were
mosey
open.
on in?
Yeah. So if you just sit in the parking lot and listen to it on the
I
radio,
don't think that happened.
no, not anymore. But they would just let you in, and you could just walk in. So I've seen the end of way more games than I ever saw the beginning of.
Yeah.
But it was great. We could, if the wind was blowing right, we could hear the announcements from there. Now batting, or Larry Parrish, that. So it was a
Did
good.
you ever try to hang out at the gates and catch the players either going in or coming out and trying to get autographs?
Nah, I don't know. I think had I been more aware of if I'd been paying more attention at the time, if I'd been more of a fan. I grew up just a football fan. It was only later in life that I really got into baseball. And now I love baseball way more than the NFL.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, it was all day, every Sunday, from morning until night, and that was all about it. But later in life, I became more of a baseball fan.
Cool.
But I surely enjoyed watching the Stars. They were great back in the day, and they're good now.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
They seem to make it pretty far. Most years.
Let's talk about your motorcycle.
Okay. My pride and joy, man.
So are you selling it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're in a rough season right now.
Mm-hmm.
I put my big boy britches on and do some stuff that I don't want to do.
I get it. Is that the only reason, or you enjoy it? You really enjoy it?
Oh yeah. If it wasn't for that, there's no way in the world I would want to sell that thing.
So tell everybody.
Unless I was upgrading to a bigger one.
Right. Yeah. So tell everybody what you have. What is it?
A Shadow Phantom 750.
See, I know nothing. I'll totally admit it. I know nothing about motorcycles. And,
I definitely need a bigger one because, like, on a day like today, if I try to take that down Highway 82 and the wind is blowing 15 miles an hour out of the south, I don't know if it just comes with it because I'm a new rider, man.
Right.
I bought my first quote-unquote motorcycle, last December?
Yeah.
So, and I taught myself how to ride in that field behind my house. it. And then I jumped up to a little Rebel 250, which that thing, it got me to learn how to, got me comfortable enough on the roads, and then it doesn't go fast, and the wind will toss that thing around like a rag doll.
Yeah.
And so I jumped up to the 750, and I need a bigger one. That thing will only top off at 96 miles an hour.
Only 96? Yeah. There's a lot of need to go faster than that.
I need a little more power because I might be on the highway and might need to
maneuver away from a police officer?
No, away from traffic obstacles, because I would rather them be behind me than in front of me, because I need to be able to, they might not see me back there.
What's your take on flying down the line in between cars waiting in traffic?
Oh, lane splitting?
Yeah. Is there a name for it? Lane splitting?
Yeah, lane splitting.
Okay.
Splitting lanes. I don't know, man. It's risky. I probably wouldn't do it.
The first time that...
it's legal in California, though, and I get it.
That's the thing, as I was going to say, is that the first time I experienced that, we were on our honeymoon in California, and we were in LA traffic heading north. I guess I don't remember. We're heading out of town, either north or south. And we're in it, it's LA traffic, 5 o'clock, and we're just sitting forever. Yeah. And these bikes are going 75. I mean, they're not even slow, 35 maneuvering. They are just flying. And I'm thinking, if I decide to get out of my car right now, somebody's going to die. Yeah. Why is this a good idea?
Or want to empty out your drink, dump the ice out of your cup.
I mean, I just dump it out the window and my arm is gone.
Yeah, that's why I can't see a time when I would. Now, lane filtering is, I can understand lane filtering, because people get rear-ended at stops all the time, stoplights, or when traffic comes to a stop. And being in a car and getting rear-ended is one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Being on a motorcycle and getting rear-ended, totally different ball game.
Yep.
And so lane filtering is whenever the bike will squeeze behind or squeeze through cars so that they're not the one at the tail end about to get, if somebody's not paying attention.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, the whole thing makes sense. They're not taking up extra space by going through. They're thinning out the traffic.
The lane splitting, it's I don't know, man.
I think if they were going at a reasonable speed, I wouldn't mind. But the fact that they're just...
What's the reasonable? 120, 130? I don't know, man.
So I got a chance to watch you a lot when you were first learning.
Oh, yeah.
And
probably looked like a moron.
No.
Tiny little motorcycle.
You looked like you were being appropriately cautious.
Yeah.
And doing your best to try to learn something that I think a lot of people that ride started way early, know, and now by the time that they're our age, they are...
Now I'm in a midlife crisis.
They know what they're doing, but we,
But the drivers here, for being patient with me, because, I'd come up to stoplights and stop signs in town and freaking stall it out. And I'm like, oh, man. You know, but... Nobody ever gave me crap. People gave me space.
That's the way to go.
They're like, oh man, look at this moron. It's like, he doesn't even know what he's doing.
I would be the same way. There's no way am I being risky. I saw a great stand-up comedian the other day. He was talking about what it's like, the difference between being under 40 and over 40.
Yeah.
He's talking about standing up on a stool, and he's like, under 40, you just hop off. Under 40, this is not a dangerous act. Over 40, now you have to think about this and plan it out. One hand down, 1 foot down, getting up and down. It's the same kind of thing. It's like after 40, you're like, I've made it this far. I'm not going to do anything stupid now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot to live for. So you got to tell them, hey, don't run me over, and I'm going to be taking baby steps on this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Until my confidence built, and now, except for those crosswinds,
and the grass clippings.
Yeah.
So how dangerous is that? Is that really is that overhyped, or is that really a major concern?
I've never really experienced it, but when I come across them, because I've heard about it, I slow down. I don't try to do any drastic maneuvers on it, but
you stop and get off the bike and walk it past it, and then restart it.
Do that. Well, because you can even ride the bike in like snow and stuff, on gravel through sand. You just gotta not try to
I'm all
make
for it.
any drastic corrections.
It's not for me. I'm all for it.
Because the bike will keep going straight. Like, you can fall off of it, and it'll still go straight.
Right. Yeah.
That's just the way it's made.
Have you laid it down at all?
That one, no. But I was in a parking lot, and I was inside, and it got, the guy was backing out of the parking spot, didn't know it was over there, and I don't know how he cut the wheel that sharp, but he hit the saddlebag and knocked it over.
Oh.
That's this bike, and man, I wanted to cry. I'm like, what are you doing? But no, it was just a turn signal I had to replace on it.
So what's your dream bike? If you could just snap your fingers and have anything you want.
I don't know, man. I'd love a crotch rocket so I can try to hit about 180.
Is it do you find yourself like concerned about something on the bike? You come to a red light and you're waiting there, or maybe you got lost, or maybe there's something going on and you got your brain on something, but then somebody pulls up next to you and you got that cool, like you know what you're doing? Because that's the way I would be every time. If somebody pulled up next to me, I'd be like, I know what I'm doing.
No, not really, because
and in reality, I'm like,
when I'm on it, I'm just concerned about getting home safely. You know? Just, like, I don't care.
If safety's a big issue with you, you want to be very careful. You want to get it down. Have you considered just not having one and staying home? It's very safe.
No.
A bicycle. They make electric bikes now, you know.
Yeah. Those things go fast.
They do. I saw there's a kid in the neighborhood that has one.
Don't they do like 35 or more?
I think so. We were in Florida a couple of years ago, and we rented scooters. They have like mopeds, you know, but they don't, no pedals, right? Just a regular scooter. And it's battery powered, but those things are legit. And they'll go 45, 50. And,
yeah, that's insane.
And, I mean, but there's no, not that you need it at 50, 45, but like there's no training. It's like you just get on this thing and you go, and you're cutting through traffic in Destin. We were in Destin and Fort Walton Beach, and the traffic down there is a little crazy. And so they just kind of like, here, rent this for the day, and then good luck. So I mean, it can be fun. Those things are more powerful than I expected.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to get down on 82 with it.
Yeah, whenever I was getting into the whole motorcycle thing, you know, I wanted to do it right, you know. So I went through the classes to get the motorcycle endorsement.
And wasn't it bad weather?
Come to find out,
the day
it was raining that day. And when we did our final test, I'm like, what? It's gonna be raining. Golly.
And it sounds like you did well, though.
Yeah, I passed it. But their statistics say that there's probably 50% of the people who are riding motorcycles don't even have the M endorsement. I'm like, what are you talking about? That just that's crazy.
It's that American individualism, right?
Yeah, I guess that would be the crew that doesn't have their license plate displayed on it, and or if they did have a license plate on it, it'd say "I'll run" or something like that. Will run.
We have a takeoff. Yeah.
Like how do you? Because I don't know, man. I don't need any more tickets.
Are you gonna get another one eventually?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not gonna not have one, but yeah.
How does your wife feel about it?
She doesn't like it at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that
She won't.
but
Like, I got her to sit on it and take a picture.
With powder. You would learn that all you have to do is just put your foot down, right?
Yeah.
And say, "We're getting
like,
a dog,
look, woman, you're getting a motorcycle.
We're getting a dog. We're getting a motorcycle.
You're gonna ride with me." But yeah.
So has she ridden it herself? Has she driven?
No.
What do you say? Driven? I guess not driven. Ride it.
Ride.
Instead of ride. What's the difference between riding it and controlling it and riding it as a passenger? What?
Being a backpack.
Oh, there's a term. So she's usually a backpack. Is she ever?
No, she won't get on it at all.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
No, she hates it that much.
Is it? So is it just that she doesn't like the danger involved, or is it that she doesn't want to encourage you because of the danger involved?
Probably. I got an app on the phone that I use to track where I go and stuff like that.
So she can know.
Well, it's a specific motorcycle app, but I can plan routes on it as an emergency contact. So if through the phone sensors or whatnot, since it's an alarm on her phone will go off.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she's nervous when you're gone.
Yeah.
But you've come back home every time so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. Like I'm a year into it so far, and like I'm pretty, because Dan the Fireman on YouTube is awesome to watch.
What is it?
Dan motorcycle safety, and he'll sit here and he'll watch motorcycle wrecks and walk you through why it happened, what they could have did differently.
Oh.
And so my awareness on the thing is super high alert, except that on the Cardo I do have music playing on the bike. So if somebody yells at me or something, I'm not going to hear it.
Wait, so you got headphones, like earbuds?
Yeah, it's a Cardo. It's basically a little earpiece that has. I can
Oh,
take
okay.
calls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you don't even stop working?
No, not really.
What is it? Dan the
Dan the Fireman. Yeah.
Dan the Fireman.
But it was just a week or so ago that I had I literally almost died on it. It was out here on 82 between Gainesville and Sherman, and a truck was coming across the median, crossing 82 to get into the lane that I'm going.
Right.
And he had plenty of time. And something told me, I'm like, I don't think this guy's going to see me. And, I changed lane positions to try to make myself more visible.
Right.
Like, I'll be in the left part of the lane, right part of the lane.
Ah, yeah, gotcha.
Sometimes bob and weave back and forth. I want to increase visibility.
Did Dan teach you that?
No, it's just like
Common sense?
eyes catch movement.
Yeah, yeah.
And so a stationary object coming towards you or an object like this coming towards you.
Yeah, good point. Okay.
And then he waited till the last second to decide to pull out in front of me. But I anticipated it. I'm like, this dude, I'm not so sure this person sees me or not. So I started letting off. And then he tried. He pulled right out in front of me. Oh, my gosh, man. I had to pull over.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I'm like, if I would not have anticipated him pulling out, I'd be dead right now.
Well, did you tell your wife about this situation?
Yeah.
Wow. All right, here's Dan.
Yeah, man, he's really good. Look, he's got almost 1 million subscribers.
Yeah.
Almost 750,000.
This is the thing these days where they just write one word. Not good. Brutal. Wow. Yeah, 1 million people? Yeah, here. 659,000. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Especially early on, like I would just sit there, as I'm going to sleep, just watching different ones of his videos and just learning what I can.
So we talked about electric bikes a little. Tell us about your bike giveaway that you did recently.
Yeah.
That turned into a huge thing.
I had no idea.
So how did that start?
Well, the previous years around Christmas time, I would send out to everybody, not just who we worked for, but everybody we go do quotes, give a quote to.
Okay.
And because of our pricing, we might have to go do 10 quotes to get 4 accepted.
Right.
So I had touch points with 10 people, but only 4 actually became customers. Well, through the year, those people, or they just simply forgot about the project and didn't get around to it. So I was like, well, why don't I just send Christmas cards to like literally everybody that we've ever had a touch point with. And so this year, Christmas was coming up, and I'm looking at our list, and I'm like, golly, that's a long list. Because last year, the stack of cards were like this.
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm like, I'm dreading making all those out. But I could have automated it. But I was like, I want to try something different this year. Why don't I I asked the wife, I'm like, what do you think instead of sending out Christmas cards if we just go buy like a boy's bike and a girl's bike and do some type of giveaway like share, follow. At work, I'm like, I have no idea. I hadn't done it before. I'm like, they would say done and then boy, done and then girl, and then obviously we'd put them in different buckets.
Right.
And she was like, okay. So I'm like, all right. I just went over here and picked out 2 bikes and made the post, and then it was L5 Irrigation out of Collinsville had seen it, and they're like, hey man, we wanna get involved in this too. Can we donate some bikes? I'm like, yeah, I guess. You know. And they're like, yeah, we really want to see kids outside playing again, you know, because all kids are inside and on screens. Let's try to do something and get kids outside and get them exercising. I'm like, sounds good to me. And then a few days went, because I had the contest up for what, like 2-3 weeks?
Yeah, it was 2-3 weeks.
But there was one week in there to where like every day I was coming home and there were freaking bikes on our front porch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, man. And then like, so my entire office was full of bikes. The wife's craft room was full of bikes. And then like we don't use our front door, but we got the sectional lined up right there so that you can.
Right.
So that's just kind of like a dead space back there.
Sure.
We started piling them back there, but we ended up with like 26 bikes.
Yeah, when you did the raffle,
like,
we were walking through the rooms and it was they were
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
26 bikes.
26 bikes. Even there were some people who instead of going out to buy the bikes, they would like Venmo or whatever, and we would go buy them.
Yeah.
Even the guy who made my website, and they donated.
Really?
All the way from Florida. Yeah.
And so you got to give all of them out but one, is that right?
Yeah.
One person never responded?
Yeah. And I looked and I tried to message that person, but they didn't have a message button on their their Facebook. So I'm like,
I've seen that.
So it sat right there behind the couch.
But that was like a month
and
now.
The wife was like, are you going to do something with this other bike? I'm like, I don't really know what to do. I don't know how to contact this person. And it's just sitting there. But now watch. So I was like, well, I'll just make a post on Whites for Express and give it away to somebody else.
Sure.
Well, somebody had contacted or said, hey, can I give it to my neighbor? All of her siblings have friends or have bikes. And so I was like, yeah, sure. Can you pick it up in the morning? Well, somebody else was like, well, what about that family like just down the road from you whose house caught on fire?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, why didn't I think about that? So I messaged the other person. I'm like, hey, man, would you mind if I gave this to them instead? And they're like, sure, man, go for it. Wednesday, I think.
Okay. Did you know that family over there with the fire?
No,
of them, I guess.
I think I've seen them walking a dog.
Okay.
Like one of their dogs came in. I don't know if it's their dog or their neighbor's dog, who is also family.
Right.
But one of those dogs had ended up in our yard, and we held them for them until they come walking through.
Yeah, we heard.
But I didn't realize at the time that it was that same family.
Right. Yeah, we heard that they had neighbors either next door or close by. Or, sorry, not family that lived as neighbors as well.
Yeah. And what's crazy is that night, I wanted to take Alicia out, driving, looking at the snow and stuff. Well, as we're pulling out of our driveway, you know, we can see down there, and I saw people in the street. I'm thinking people's just out playing in the snow. I had no idea that their house had just caught on fire. This was before like any first responders even showed up.
Right.
And just I had no idea. I'm like, oh man, I felt horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. We did hear that night that the family all got out safe.
Yeah.
But I think the house is probably a total loss. It looks.
Yeah, it looked like it.
That's tough. That's always a terrible thing. That's good that you were able to help them out a little bit.
Yeah.
They had 3 little kids, yeah?
Little. Yeah,
really?
Little.
Yeah. It's always...
3, and all of them were under 4, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it's always cool to see the stuff that this town is able to pull together to accomplish.
Yeah.
And starting with 2 bikes and end up with 26 is
Right.
pretty awesome that people want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
That's gotta make you feel good, and it's great to be the person who starts that initiative,
Yeah.
and gives people an opportunity to help. Because
Yeah.
I think people want to, but getting it started and coming up with the idea and being the facilitator of that, gathering all these bikes and going and buying them when they Venmo you. And
I'm like, what did I do? What did I start? This is like another full-time job.
Well, maybe you should do this every Christmas.
Yeah, we'll try.
Next year you'll hit 50, and you'll have to. We'll all get a storage space. Yeah.
We're in a storage building or something. I don't know.
So what's 2025 going to look like for you?
Man, I don't know, man. We're coming out of a rough season.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Probably leaning more towards the
Is
restructuring, rebranding
Sure.
type thing.
Tell me about you winning these awards, the Best Textile Awards. Those are big deals,
Yeah.
and it's rare to win 3 in a row, I would say.
There's like some of the roofing companies, they do it.
Yeah.
A lot of the winners do win multiple.
Yeah.
Like if we do rebrand, I don't know how that's gonna.
Sure.
Because
you
it'll
can't
be
really,
a different company.
Really. Sure.
So I don't
you can't really expect to
really
that quick.
know. Yeah.
But I mean, what an accomplishment! That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
3 years in a row. I'm gonna try to see you back on a bike before the end of 2025. We'll
Yeah,
see what
yeah.
happens there.
Yeah. Dig ourselves out of this hole that we're in and get
we'll
the
get
whole
there.
restructuring thing taken care of.
Mhm. We've got. We're gonna do a segment on this show at the
Okay.
end of each episode where we ask 5 questions
Okay.
with our guest. And so you have, we'll give you about 5 seconds to answer each one. It's a
Uh-oh.
lightning round, okay? You ready?
Okay.
What's your favorite paint color name?
Light French gray, maybe. I don't know.
Light French gray?
Yeah, I guess.
What does that look like? What makes it French? What's your favorite color in general?
Oh man, I don't think I got a favorite one.
My favorite color is gray. And
Yeah.
I think I might be the only person I know that has that as a favorite color.
I do like gray and silver. Like my white truck,
Yeah, yeah.
I love it because it's a Trail Boss.
Uh-huh.
But I miss my silver 2014.
Ah,
The way that the wrap looked on that
sure,
one.
yeah.
But yeah.
Light French gray.
Yeah,
Did they
I
make
guess.
Did they make
That's
a?
just the first one that popped into my mind
Right.
because we are doing a light French gray project.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I'm like,
Did they make
you
a-
said 5 seconds.
do they
I'm like,
make
well,
a
gray.
dark French gray?
That I don't know.
That's something you got to look into
I
if
don't
you're
know.
going to call it your
There's
favorite.
probably about 60 different shades of gray.
Okay, so question number 2: if you could rename eggshell, the finish, what would you call it instead? What's a more appropriate name than eggshell?
It's pretty close to satin.
Satin,
Satin and eggshell
too?
are kind of interchangeable. So.
French satin. All right. How about this? What is harder, painting a perfectly straight line or convincing someone it's straight when it's not?
It's both the same.
You got to do it right, yeah? And then convince them that you did it right. Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I'm serious, man. Like,
Don't look around in
put a
here.
level or something on these walls. I've been painting a lot of houses, and like the inside boxes of windows, you'll never see one straight
Right.
90 degrees. But we got to try to make it look like it's 90 degrees, and
I
make
believe
it
that.
look straight.
I believe that. Yeah, I think that...
We got to try to make the other trades look good. We got to fix it.
Yeah. All right. If someone paid you in tacos instead of money, how many tacos would it take to paint a house? How many tacos would you charge?
Oh my gosh. I don't know.
These are very important questions. I want you to take your time to think through this one.
I only got 5 seconds.
I'll give you some extra time. How much is a taco to you? How much is it worth?
I don't know, $1?
$1? Well, then I guess it equals out. Same, right?
I guess.
Same. Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Average small exterior,
If they-
5,000 tacos.
If they give you, that's the problem though. If they give you 5,000 tacos all at once, then you're going to
Exactly.
eat 2, and the other 4,900 are going to get cold.
Well, everybody in Whitesboro will be eating tacos.
That's right. There's one for each person in Whitesboro. That's right.
I'd have to sure they will.
All right. Last question here. You get your dream motorcycle as a gift, free gift, right? But the one stipulation to this gift is that you can only ride it while wearing a Disney character's costume at all times.
Oh, boy.
What character do you choose?
Disney? I'm so out of touch with Disney.
Well, you can pick somebody old.
Disney. Can I just be Bart Simpson?
That's not a Disney character. You got to follow the rules here. We're taking this thing seriously. Come on.
I boycotted Disney a long time ago.
Pinocchio.
Who is?
Cinderella. Peter Pan.
Sure,
Peter Pan. All right.
Yeah.
So if I get you a Peter
I'd
Pan,
have to wear some skinny jeans,
green skinny jeans,
some Hey Dudes
French
or
green,
something.
French green color. If I get you a Peter Pan costume, I want to see it. If you get a new bike, deal.
Okay.
All right, Robert. Thanks for joining us today. This is awesome. We appreciate you being here. It's always good to get to know the folks in the borough. And
Fun. I'm anxious to see how this goes.
Yeah, it's going to go great.
Heck yeah.
I have all the confidence in the world. I don't have any of that. So we close our show with this. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you. And thanks for watching this episode of Life in the Borough, because as we know, life is what? I should have given the line beforehand.
Yeah.
Life is
Totally
better in the borough.
Life is better in the borough.
That's right. Thanks for being here, man.
Thank you, man.